All right, everybody. It is now 5:15 here on Monday, April 7th. We're going to call this meeting to order. Welcome. I'd like to welcome you here with our council. I'll be presiding here, Mayor Lindberg, for this meeting on April 7th, 2025, here in our council chambers. We will first begin with an invocation by Council Member Lincoln Jacobs, followed by our Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by Madeline Christensen.
Our dear Father in heaven, we come before thee this evening, Father, grateful for the opportunity that we have to come together as city leaders and city staff and citizens and residents. We pray that thy Spirit would be with us, Father. We pray that we can have a feeling of uplifting, that we might be able to be encouraging, that we might be able to discuss whatever items are on the agenda and do so in a positive and an uplifting way. We're grateful, Father, for so many people who sacrifice so much on behalf of our city. We're grateful for those that contribute so much. We're especially grateful, Father, for our first responders, our emergency personnel, Father, that help keep us safe, help keep us healthy in our moments of need, that attend to us. And so grateful for their efforts, for their learning, for their education, and for their service. We pray thy Spirit be with us this night and say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. All right, we are really lucky tonight. We have a number of great presentations here. I've not seen the individuals here yet for our first. Okay, all right. So we're going to scoot over to number 2C on the agenda.
To do a call to order.
Oh, I am so sorry. Thank you. I skipped that number 1. Let's first do our roll call, and I don't know if Councilmember Hoyt is just coming a little bit late or if he's absent today.
Texted and said he's just running a few minutes late. So.
I was stalling, and then I jumped ahead. We'll go ahead and take the roll call.
Steve Stewart, present.
And Jacobs, present.
Lindberg, present.
Van Broderick, present.
Cole Hooley, present.
All right, and then we'll have our recorder make note when Councilmember Hoyt arrives. All right, so we will first begin. We'll do our presentations just slightly out of order. We'll first have our public city engineers and our public works director present on our road maintenance methodology, if they are ready to come forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We actually called in the big guns for tonight. We have here with us the director from the Utah LTAP Center, Randy Wallen. He has been there at the LTAP for about 5 years now, I believe. He can talk more about what the LTAP does. He probably doesn't know this, but I actually used to work for the LTAP as a student, and we would go out and help municipalities evaluate their pavement condition and come up with a pavement preservation plan. So he's going to discuss some of the best practices in the industry for pavement preservation. I'll turn the time over to Randy.
Okay, good evening. It's good to know that we've developed some good engineers like Trent through the program. So that's a bonus. So let's jump through here. Okay, so I'm coming on 37 years of experience as an engineer. Worked for various different entities. UDOT, I worked as a consultant doing traffic and roads for a number of years. I worked for Sandy City as their drainage manager, and that was interesting in that I started the stormwater utility fee there. And then the Jordan School District sued us after that. But it was, and we did a good job, and after about 5 years of litigation, Sandy City prevailed. So it was well done and kind of tedious. But I worked for the concrete pipe industry for another number of years, and now I'm working for the Utah LTAP. I'll tell you what that is here in a second. What I'm going to take away from this tonight is pavement management practices. And we also do some other things. We do traffic safety audits. We've recently been able to hire a traffic engineer that is available to go out and help the city engineers, different people. When there's a hot spot or a question, he can go out and give some preliminary recommendations. And then we do a lot with road workers throughout the state. LTAP stands for Local Technical Assistance Program. So it's like an extension service through USU. And we put about 1,000 different people through classes just this spring. Traffic control, all the flaggers, all the traffic control that gets set up, we teach those classes. Today there was a heavy equipment training, and people learn how to operate heavy equipment, various things, and it's really helpful for the users, and they're able to earn a degree, either a road scholar, a road master, or a supervisor degree. And a lot of cities use that to give them step increases, raises. It's kind of the training like UDOT has, but we do it for the cities. Okay, we get our grant money through the Federal Highway Administration, and I'm happy so far it's still there. And then we get a match through UDOT. So our funding comes through that, and we've been at Utah State University since 1988. We have to reapply for that grant every 5 years, and so it's an ongoing process. And we have a small department and staff, just really 4 full-time employees, and then as Trent talked about, we have the students that work for us, and they go out and do pavement assessments and different data gathering during the summer. I wanted to talk a little bit about B and C road funds, just because it's pretty complicated and not always understood. There was a lot I didn't know about this. It's been established over the years through different funds, but the legislature gave UDOT the administrative authority. UDOT doesn't decide who gets that money. They just allocate that money, so it comes through UDOT. The League of Cities and Towns and the Utah Association of Counties is really the lobbying entities that work with the legislature on what that funding is. So the formulas, I'm going to skip to, if I go back on this, is there a button to go backwards? Right down there. Sorry. So in about 1997 is when they adjusted this fund. It's half based on the centerline miles of roadway that the city has and half based on the population of the county. So luckily you're on the Wasatch Front area, you have pretty good populations. If you get out in some of the rural counties, they don't necessarily get a lot of money. You don't get enough money from this to really maintain the roads the way you'd like to, but at least you're in a little bit better of an area. They've done some different things. Right now, UDOT would be a type A road. The cities and counties are B and C roads, and that's where that comes from. UDOT gets about 70% of that for the A roads off the gas tax, and the other 30% comes back to the cities and counties. And they've changed the formulas a little bit over time, and in 2015, that was indexed to the Consumer Price Index, which is good that gas tax will go up over time. One of the problems with that is when this was all implemented, we were probably driving cars that got like 8 miles to the gallon, and so there was a lot of gas consumption. Over time, we keep getting more fuel-efficient cars, and so the gas tax is actually going down kind of overall. Electric cars also, some of that money goes into the fund, but whether that's an equivalent is still something that I haven't figured out yet.
Do we know how electric cars get into that fund at all? Are you aware of that?
They do get charged a registration fee that
Oh,
goes
a
into the
registration
fund.
time. Okay.
And it appears to be close to what somebody would drive in a year and put in close to gas tax, but I'm not sure how it all comes back through.
I see.
Okay, that's the formula that you have on your screen. When I show this to the engineers, they really love it, and we just spend like an hour or two going through this. But we're not going to go through that tonight, but that's what we're talking about. Just to give you an idea, I looked up Lindon. I got this off of UDOT's website. You get about $9,800 per mile per year, okay? That's $608,000 in 2024. Okay, so if you were to get that $9,800 per mile, if you got that over 20 years, typically we look at the life of a road. If you build a new road and left it unmaintained, that you could get 20 years. $197,000 over 20 years. Right now, the cost per mile to do a slurry seal, $28,000. Does that sound? You guys can correct me if I'm wrong there, but
Sure.
yeah,
Per mile.
yeah. It's probably just a narrow 24-foot road. $466,000 to do a 3-inch mill and overlay project. So you can see that these maintenance projects that come up over the years are going to eat into that B&C fund really quickly. So the history of pavement management has been you do your worst roads first, and then sometimes there was a political aspect to it, depending on where the most complaints were. The FHWA, everyone in the industry pretty much right now goes to keep your good roads good, because it's much cheaper to maintain them when they're still new than when they get older. And so we say, keep the good roads good, and then try and prioritize and eat away at those bad roads over time. I put this in there for the barn, but if we managed our roads like they managed kind of this barn and just let everything go and never maintain it, you can see how costly it would be to fix the barn in the bottom right. And it's a lot better to just take care of it year by year.
Randy, you're speaking asphalt though, right?
Yes.
Because at times we have infrastructure pipes underneath that we just got to rip up to address
Yes.
those as well. Nothing that you're talking about addresses that though, right?
No, but a lot of the communities that we work with, they try and time their infrastructure improvements.
Sure.
So that when that road's already torn up, that they have the funding necessary to just finish that. Sometimes with water lines, it may come out of that fund. So we work off a concept called remaining service life. A brand new road would have like a 20-year remaining service life. If it's only shown to have, 5 years remaining service life, you don't have a very good road there. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So it just goes down 1 year every year. So if you look at this curve here, when the road starts out, it doesn't degrade very fast. But after it starts getting to about 10 years, that road degrades quite a bit. When it gets to cracking, the potholes, the water getting in it, it's going to degrade a lot faster. So what we try and recommend is that you do these more effective maintenance projects early on in the road's life and keep it from getting over to that 10-year as long as you can and extend it out. This curve, just looking at it, if you're spending money on preventative maintenance, you're going to spend a little bit of money. As it gets to corrective, you're going to spend a lot of money. And then as it gets to rehabilitation, you're going to spend a huge amount of money. So this is a graph, and these numbers are a little bit old, but what that shows is if you do that green line and you do all the maintenance projects and never let the road degrade fully, you can extend that road out, where if you just let it go and never maintained it and then you rebuild it, you would spend twice the amount of money to do it and you would have much more unhappy residents because that green line keeps the road in a good driving serviceable condition, where the pink line, it gets pretty bad over time. And this will give you an idea, the benefit cost ratio over on the side. Routine maintenance gets a benefit cost ratio of about 25-1. It may only extend the year's life by maybe 3 years, but you can do a lot with that. We're down on the bottom, reconstruction, probably just a benefit cost ratio of about 3. So this will just give you an idea of some of the projects we worked on. As Trent mentioned, Trent probably didn't have this good of GIS system when he was there. So the students now use their phones. I gave them tablets, and they won't even use the tablets. They're out there with their phones, and they're able to go drive every road in a city or a community, rate the road, get a picture of it, and put it into GIS for the city. That was Helper there. This is what it looks like right off your phone, and all the Public Works employees can have access to the data. You can click on a road, you can see what that road looks like. This will give you an idea of where we were pulling one up, and we looked for one that had rutting and fatigue cracking, and it brought up that picture of the road, and when we show that to the city, they're like, oh, yeah, you're on the right road. and it often becomes interesting as we finish these projects, because sometimes it's like, oh, we thought this road was a better condition, and then we go down through the photos and look at it, and it's like, yeah, it's probably worse than what we thought sometimes, or maybe a section of it's worse than what we thought. We put those all into categories so we can see what percentage of the city's roads are red would be kind of the bad end, green would be the good end. And then we look at the different types, whether it's reconstruct, and that was an RSL of 1 to 6, so about 6 years remaining life, and you can see those are probably down on the not much remaining life left. It's just turning into a gravel road. These were ones that probably needed mill and overlays or some type of rehabilitation. These 11 to 15 years, you could still do preventative maintenance, slurry seals, chip seals, different things that way. And then some of these roads, you mentioned the infrastructure. Helper was able to do a lot of water lines down there through grants. And so they had really good roads in a lot of the city. And just keep the cracks out of there, crack seal, do slurry seals, keep the water from getting in the road for these new roads. And we put that all in a spreadsheet, and we look at if you spent just B&C funds over the next 20 years, how would your roads fare? We're finding with most communities that they're about 50 to 100% behind. Some of the newer communities that have been practicing this may be getting close to being able to deal with just B&C funds. But as you have more build-out cities, some of the ones that have a lot of older roads, they need about twice the money. And you've probably seen that some of those have already instituted a transportation utility fee, and that's been a topic at the legislature and things going on there. And what we do is we project out what the roads would look like in 20 years. So the blue bars would be existing conditions, and the green being 10 years out and the yellow being 20 years out. And we really don't like that there's, like, in this case, about 45% of the roads way down in bad condition in 20 years. So we look at different alternatives. If you could find more funding, how can you impact that? And what we really see is trying to get the yellow all to one side and then work on the other side as the money becomes available. Here's the recommendations we have in here. They're typically not enough money. We see B&C funds can be used for a number of different uses. Snow removal, they can be used for new roads. We recommend keeping them used for maintenance because you don't have enough if you just put all of that towards maintenance. There is other mechanisms out there that they're looking at. Some of the people that have instituted a transportation user fee have pretty much doubled what they were bringing in from just B&C. we look at construction inflation, we look at the other things as we project that out. And we recommend to communities try and go back and monitor this situation every 5 years and put the plan in place and prioritize what you want to work on. How that B&C fund's going to change over time is going to be interesting. I think there'll come a time when it's just based on miles traveled, and that they look at what you're driving and it'll come right off your car and probably charge a lot of different ways. One of the communities that did a transportation utility fee, they asked me specifically to mention in there that is not going away. Maintenance is kind of forever. There was a thought that that might sunset after 5 years or 10 years, and it's like, no, this is a long-term thing. We recommend to make sure and spend some money on inspection, maybe use some better asphalt, because if the construction is bad, it can really decrease the life of that pavement a lot. And inspection and, putting the right money into making sure you get the right road out there, we recommend. Just real quick, some of the other things we do, we have the students go out and do traffic counts. Did you do that, Trent? Now we use AI. Okay. That's nice. They do sidewalk and sign assessments. They go out and drive all the sidewalks in the city and mark all the trip hazards, everything else. We're looking at curve safety with our traffic engineer. Curves throughout the United States and Utah, there's a high degree of fatalities and severe accidents related to curves. And then we've done some other things in there. And that's what our maps look like for if we were doing sidewalks and signs. So, so that's the kind of the short and quick presentation, and I'd entertain any questions if you have them or comments.
Thank you very much. I think this is, it goes against what would be probably your natural reaction is like, well, this road has potholes or it's in terrible condition, but helping our citizens understand the financial reasoning why you don't just throw all your money on the worst roads all at once. You maintain and extend the life, because down the road it's going to save millions of dollars in taxpayer funds, but then you tackle the bad roads bit by bit, right?
Right.
And that's important.
It's interesting in that spreadsheet, sometimes we'll just change the allocation of how we would fund it, the priorities, and it shows how much more expensive it becomes if you do it in the wrong order.
Even further behind.
Wait, quite a bit further.
Yeah.
It's surprising how far it will get you down that road. So.
And I think it also demonstrates that B&C is not adequate in and of itself. So, our council's always made roads a priority in our budget years, and we've, I think, done some pretty significant allocations from general fund for that. So appreciate your presentation, council. Do you have any questions or comments?
Is there a quantitative approach to knowing how many reconstruction, rehabilitation, or is it a qualitative? I just know that so many city projects can come up that you're like, oh, who knew that was going to happen? So that money had to go go over there. Are there tools or algorithms you use to say, if you're going to catch up in 20 years, including all of the roads that you have, you'll need this many miles you'll have to cover of reconstruction every year to catch up?
We kind of look at that within the spreadsheet that we deal. It's kind of a model of what's happening. Whenever we usually increase the budget to see how we can tackle that, we can't find enough money.
Sure.
Most people are that far behind. So the thing that's, as you have subdivision roads, those can probably go a little bit longer and don't have the traffic impact that your collectors and arterials have. Mm-hmm. So we try and prioritize the collectors and arterials because that could really become a safety issue at speed, where you want the subdivisions to be smooth and drive nice, but the speed is a lot lower, and so they probably can go a little bit longer. So we look at those things as we go through it.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you for your time
coming.
Appreciate it. All right. We are ready now. We'll go on to item number B in our presentations. We have a very special recognition tonight. We're very excited and proud to have Dan Stone recognized by the Utah Parks and Recreation Association. So let's go ahead and do that.
Thanks, Council. This was mentioned last week, but this is a bigger deal than we wanted to make sure we got real recognition done. Can I introduce Megan Zollinger? Megan is the Utah Parks and Recreation Association president, and also our Parks and Recreation director to the neighbor to our north, Pleasant Grove. Oh, nice. So Megan, if you want to come on up, and we can talk about Dan a little bit.
Thank you. I might be able just to stand right here because I'm short enough. Oh, that's awesome. I'm excited to be here today. These are fun presentations to be a part of, and it's fun to come and be in the cities and be a part of, what the great work everybody's doing across the state. So, like he said, I'm actually just the recreation director, not Parks and Rec, and so Dion is still there in PG. But just right here in PG, been there for a couple of years, and then the current president for this next year for Utah Parks and Recreation. So super happy to be here. We love the work and love to see what everybody's doing around the state. I just want to, before I get into it, I want to give a nod to Heath and his team. In fact, Alan was super helpful with us when we had some pool problems about a year ago, if anybody's heard about those. So, you guys just have really good people and really awesome people that are willing to help and be a part of the statewide association and support that and come to trainings and be a part of training sessions, things like that, presentations. So really a wonderful team. So we're excited to be here to represent and, to represent them and make sure that they're noticed for the good work they do. So just kind of behind a little bit of information behind this award and how this works. So we do an annual conference every year in St. George. So it was just in March. We had over 100 nominations this year. And then those nominations go to all of the previous presidents that are part of the association. And then between them, that's who they vote on. So Lindon actually was a couple of different awards. I know for sure special events, but there was like 50 nominations just in special events as a whole. So really high quality work comes from Lindon. We know you guys do tons of great work. So unfortunately, that was not where the awards came out. We could have come with 3 today, but we're coming with 1. One's better than none, right? But yeah, so it's a competitive statewide opportunity to be recognized. This is really cool to be able to come here specifically to Lindon and say one of your own people are being recognized for that great work. So with that said, Dan Stone, and I'm pretty sure everybody knows who Dan is based on reading his information and everything that he's involved in. It's pretty impressive. I'm actually going to read a little bit. Oh, thank you.
Alan,
come right there. I'll present to you in a second. Oh my gosh, that's too funny. I hope that's recorded.
I know.
So I'm going to read part of his nomination because it gives some very good specifics about what Dan is doing in the community. So Dan Stone exemplifies what it means to be a community volunteer in Lindon City. For a community that prides themselves on being a little bit of country, Dan's unwavering dedication touches nearly every aspect of the community and really makes Lindon feel special. From volunteering at every city event and function to starting a citywide Thanksgiving dinner, Dan's contributions foster a sense of togetherness and support for all of our residents. It goes on to say that he's helped with Little Miss Lindon Royalty Float. He's helping with Lindon Day celebrations. He's a fixer-upper, it sounds like, he'll fix anything. Great attitude, problem solver, coaching youth sports, really anything. So I don't know what else there is to add to the list that he's not doing. So, and I want to add to that if you know anything about the recreation world, or if your own kids or grandkids have been part of sports, like we literally these things don't happen without volunteers. I mean, we don't have endless allocations of money, as we're talking about roads right before this, right? Like we don't. It's impossible to do what we do without volunteers. So I don't think they're recognized enough. And so this really is really cool and a really great thing to come here and say, to recognize what Dan has done. So Dan, come on up now. Now I'm ready for you. Come on up. We also have a nice picture that we took when we were at conference with Dan as well. So you get to take that with you. So Yeah, do you want to do pictures with your whole team here?
I think we need to do a picture with the council over here. This is like our
Yep.
spot.
Let's do that.
Do this. This is fantastic. Winning too much.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks, you guys. Yeah, any questions for the council? Thank you. Now, we just seriously appreciate all your great work and your support, and thanks for having us today.
Thank you so much.
You have comment, Megan. Thank you so much. In our last city council, Heath had sent me a note about this, and so I announced it, but I thought this is way too minimalistic for the recognition that John received.
That he
So
deserves, yeah.
yeah.
That's awesome. Well, thank you.
Well, and we know that this is something the Stone family lives and breathes. So Tracy is an equal, if not, yeah, we know you're a major partner in all these good things. And so we're grateful to both of you.
I saw some
Yeah.
looks going back and forth between Tracy and Dan as his recognitions were being noted. And I thought, there's a story that I would love to hear between that husband and wife. We appreciate you both a ton, all of you.
You deserve all the recognition, whether you want it or not. Thank you. We really appreciate you guys. Thank you again, Megan, for coming as well. All right. We will now move on to item number D in our presentations. This is from Republic Services. I'd like to thank Mark Sherwood for coming today to go ahead and present information about our solid waste and recycling programs that they service for our residents.
That's awesome.
All right, we're getting some mini dumpsters. Those are
Swag.
great.
Yes, of course.
Phone holder.
Thank you, Mark. All right, we're looking forward to your presentation here.
All right.
And hopefully you're going to tell us that Lindon is your favorite customer.
That's actually, that might be true because you're 3 minutes from our office and.
It's supposed to be because we're the best.
Oh, it's because of that, yeah. Oh, the drivers love your city, so, yeah, for whatever reason, Mayor, whatever it is.
All right.
All right, so I will walk through our recap. So this is a recap for, and Lincoln, you probably know a lot of this already because of your association with North Point. But let's just recap last year. And then just to put it in perspective, it's interesting. We've got a footprint in Utah, about 26 municipalities. And then when you look at Utah County, we are the dominant service provider for Utah County, both in the north and in the south. And as you can see, that gives us a kind of economies of scale, and it also makes it so that we have coverage and a lot of benefit for the city because you're with the other cities up here. This is interesting when you actually look at what we do over the course of a year. The numbers are kind of staggering. 250,000 carts were picked up last year, and then that's our team Tate right there. He comes out and does all the services on the carts, and he's right there in PG, about 3 minutes from where we're sitting right now.
So carts represents each wheeled dumpster can out in
Yes.
in front of a residential.
Yeah.
And that's not unique, but but repetitive, right? So my house got 52.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. It's like if you bought a radio spot and they say, oh, 5 million people heard your ad, or 3 million people went to the hockey game or whatever. Yeah. Some of those are they're duplicated for sure. Yeah. And then this is interesting too. So on Fridays is when we service the city for both MSW for solid waste every week, and then every other week it's recycling. And we've got 3,100 homes. As you know, recycling is opt-in for Lindon. So if you want it, you opt in. If you want a second can, you also opt in. So to that point, Lincoln, about the number, some of them are unique because they only get MSW, and then some are getting 3 cans, right? So, yeah. Okay, the fun stuff here. This is what we do in the community. The Farmers Sunset Market. Is that happening again this year the same way? Are we going to do this fun,
yes, we are.
Fun one with the rodeo? Yeah. Okay. So we'll be at that one for sure. The Spooktacular, and there's a couple other things I think that we're involved with. Also, I know, is it Councilmember Stewart is the chamber? You do the chamber? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we do the chamber. I know that's not technically always Linda, but we do a lot of the. We get a third of credit for that, right?
Right.
Right. Okay.
Whatever you'd like.
Okay. The materials in tons, when you look at it, there's over 5,000 tons a year of solid waste that we take from the city, and then recycling almost 300. Looks like we've added 68 homes last year. Does that sound right? Pretty much, you're built out. We're not. There isn't. If there is building, it's not going to be massive subdivisions with.
We do
produced,
have
yeah.
some
Is there more coming
on the west side. There'll be
Okay.
a bit more infill.
Okay, then we will talk then. All right. That brings us to this question. Future growth. So when that happens, we would ask if we can be kind of given a heads up on things like, and maybe this is something that we could send to the Planning Commission, and some of the other cities that are like out of control. I'm not going to mention. This is being recorded, right?
Like we said, we're your best customer. We're not gonna throw you. No, we don't have anything huge like the neighboring cities.
The neighbors. Well, part of the challenge is by the time the same challenges that we face with a garbage truck or a recycling truck, you face with emergency vehicles, right? And so if they didn't think about, okay, how is a EMT going to get in there and pick somebody up that needs to be picked up? Well, you're not going to get your garbage picked up either. Yeah. So things like when you do the infill, can we make sure that to the extent possible that we don't have to put it in reverse or parking on one side of the street, things like that. So we never think about that until it's too late. Or it's a trade-off. It's a cost benefit. Maybe it's not as something that crosses anyone's mind. So this is just other cities, and so now we bring it up. I bring it up every time I can. But okay. Anything else that as far as like things that you've seen, maybe from residents, or if you could wave a magic wand that you'd like us to do differently or improve, or.
I think you do a great job. Your drivers, my sons go out every Friday and wave to your drivers. One of your drivers gave us a birthday present or a Christmas present once. I mean, that type of connection with the community is something that makes you guys pretty special. Yeah. I think it's awesome, and being involved in the chamber. You're a great partner, and we appreciate it. And let's keep it rolling.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Well, and the dumpsters. I mean, that's the cherry on top.
Well, yeah, of course.
One for each kid.
Yeah, there you go. got this.
That's the recap for Lindon. In the last 3 minutes, just kind of giving you an update on the industry generally. So if we say, what does recycling look like going forward? One of the things that happened, it was the commodities market with Chinese sword, the China sword. And so do you remember China used to buy every, every recyclable plastic 1 through 7. And we were making money off of, the cities were actually getting rebates off of the recycling. And that is probably never coming back. So recycling now is more expensive to recycle than it used to be. So one of the things that happens there is the cost, it gets a little bit more expensive on the contracts. Something that we can talk about next year with you guys. The other thing that is interesting, and we were going to do a pilot here out of our Pleasant Grove yard, is the electric trucks. But what happened was we had a limited number of trucks across the company, and there are other states took them all. So Colorado, just outside of Denver, there are like 3 municipalities that are all electric. So interesting. Just a heads up, not a sales pitch here, but if you ever wanted to do electric, it's kind of like you got to get in line now. They do work though, like to great effect. Drivers love them, and more sustainable, arguably. Any interest or questions about electric vehicles as far as trucks go?
It's a topic I'm very interested in discussing. I don't know that I have specific questions right now, but you're welcome to email me, text me, and let's go to lunch, and it'd be interesting to hear.
Okay.
I'm sure we could have good conversations.
Yeah, I will take you up on that. Last thing is the polymer centers. We just opened another one in Indianapolis. The first one was in Las Vegas. And so this is circularity to the point where you can take the Kirkland water bottle, recycle it, take the flakes down, and create another Kirkland water bottle. So science fiction is becoming science fact, and Republic is on the leading edge of that. So just something that we like to maybe brag about a little bit. So
are you doing your own recycling processing, or are you taking it to other entities that are doing it?
So for those, that is our facility, and we get as from Utah, Washington County, everything there goes down to Las Vegas. We don't out of here. We take it to a MRF, and kind of standard, traditional recycling is what happens to Lindon's recycling.
So where is this facility?
That's in Las Vegas.
So we can do lunch and a road trip?
Yeah, we'll do a Cirque show.
To do field trips, and I love to do field trips.
Okay.
Vegas is, in fact, we're going to be down in St. George, and next weekend we could add to the beginning or the end.
Yeah.
And I'm only partially joking.
Let's go.
Recycle Center? You guys wouldn't love to go do that field trip? I would.
I'd love to, as long as you take pictures of Steve.
What happens at the recycling center there, the polymer centers? You know.
There's a lot of debate in our society relative to especially recycling the plastic bottles. You know, what happened in the 70s and misleading and bad information. So anything that can correct, misperceptions, I would love to be aware of.
To that point, after this, this evening, I will send you a recycling, just for constituents that say, oh, it's fake or whatever, which I know you do get those comments. So we put together a kind of a one sheet that you can have, just so that you have the talking points on it. But yeah, I know there are a lot of that, and occasionally, we've as an industry have contributed to that, inadvertently most of the time. when we have. So I get it for sure. All right. Well, thank you. I appreciate your time.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
Very much. Anything we can do to help with the education of our citizens to see the benefits of recycling and lessening the landfill cost and load, and so we appreciate that information, and we can get that sheet out.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. I'll be in touch. Okay.
All right, well, we'll move on now to item number 3. This is our open session for public comment for anything that is not on this evening's agenda. We invite anyone from the public to come forward and address the council briefly. All right, seeing none, we'll move on to item number 4, our council reports. And I'll look here to my left. Councilmember Stewart, would you like to start us off tonight?
If
Are
I
you ready?
must. I
Yes.
usually do, though. I was not able to attend the business summit this past weekend. I was in the land of Disney. So I missed that. I'll leave that to somebody else who may have attended to talk about. But Youth Council, we had Youth Council attend a senior center luncheon with some of our seniors, and had a really good time sitting at tables and getting to know them, and just watching our youth, how good they are. And this particular Youth Council is awesome. We have 1 week left in the application window, and we don't have as many applications as we'd like, as we've had. So hopefully there are those out there who know some youth who maybe they're just waiting till the bitter end. But next Monday, the 14th, our window closes, and then we'll have our interviews with those who've applied and select our next youth council, our 4th. It's kind of hard to believe that that's where we are, our 4th year with youth council. It seems like only yesterday that we started that. That's it. Thank you.
Excuse me. One of our consent agenda items a little bit later on is relative to some work we're doing on 2000 West, and that's included some arrangements, some agreements in some land use between Lindon City and North Point Solid Waste. Thanks, Adam and Juan and Noah, for jumping all over that for our board meeting down there. It passed the board. Our legal wasn't there. Everything passed pending approval by legal, but I think we're all good there. Thank you. I know that was some last minute rushing. Really, really appreciate that. As we know, North Point Solid Waste is doing some reconstruction planning. Hughes was selected as the general contractor for that, so just an FYI there. Parks and Rec, as always, a ton going on. Alan Walker wrote a letter to the World Water Park Association. We got forwarded that letter and a few email comments. Alan's gone now, but very impressed. I assume he used a little bit of AI on there because he was going over stuff I never could have done. He should have been using AI. AI is awesome, but great content, great exposure to Lindon, and obviously great information about the history of our water park. That was really fun to read, and glad that he did, and it was such a great job. Speaking of the pool, it's pool time. We're ramping up. Anytime I think about the pool, I just feel overwhelmed for the pool aquatics manager. This year, McKendra decided she'd step into that role, and I'm just praying that McKendra stays with us after this year's over. I'm so grateful to her for taking on that role, and good luck to everything that's going on there on the pool. There will be a resurface that will happen. I'm sure that's in our budget. That's going to be happening in the fall. But just heads up, that's coming. This weekend, Saturday, 9 a.m., Anderson Farms is our Easter egg hunt. And Heath sent me some notes, and I thought this was really important to note. That's 9 a.m. Heath watch time. So I don't know if he's synced up to AT&T or T-Mobile, but that's Heath watch time, 9 a.m. The whistle will go. There's an action item tonight about the Hollow Park pickleball courts being resurfaced. The contractor that's being recommended is somebody who I'm familiar with. I chatted with him briefly. Heath is saying that's going to be offline for about 3 weeks, and I think that's the appropriate public communication to have. The contractor said, if it's a good couple weeks, we can be done in 2 weeks, but 3 weeks is what we should publish. And then tomorrow, the Heritage Trail, that's the horse trail that goes between 1200 and 900 East. It's got a portion that's kind of beat up, and that's going to start getting repaired tomorrow. So we're excited about that. Looking forward to that. I know a lot of residents. You guys might not hear it, but that's my neck of the woods, and so I hear it commented a lot. Yeah. So we're excited about that, and that's all I got.
Been a busy couple of weeks. Had the opportunity to meet with our friends over at Castlewood. We'll have some discussions on that later tonight. Had a great report from Chief back there. Always appreciate his updates. Wanted to share a couple quick things from that. Barbara, our wonderful records clerk, is retiring mid-June. She's been with us for a long time. We'll be posting that job if anyone has anyone in mind. It's an important member of the family, right? Important member of the team. Our K-9 has been instrumental in locating illegal substances. Pleased with the progress and the obedience level there. So that's an investment we've made, and we're excited to see some progress there. Lastly, for your calendars, National Police Week is May 11th through May 17th. We'll have our annual awards ceremony on May 14th from 6 to 8. That's always a good time. That's one that you'll, if you can put on your calendars and try to attend with our spouses, as in the past, I would imagine. So.
Tell me the date one more time.
Yes, that is May 14th from 6 to 8 p.m. Looking forward to ULCT convention. Yeah, looking forward to it.
Is everybody going down to that?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
I am. My pickleball partner just notified me that he's dropping out, so I'm looking for a pickleball partner if anyone's interested.
Who was your partner?
I'd like to report abuse here. You could stop now.
No comment.
Just wants to win.
I just want to play. I don't care who.
All right, he just wants to win.
Maybe
All
we
right.
can do another one. I'm good.
All right. Go ahead. Is that all for you,
That's it.
Jake? Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Attended the Hollow Water Irrigation Company meeting. One of the unique things about Hollow Water, it's also part of our storm drain system and a big part of it for the west side of town. That's why the city's probably so involved in that. In the 11 years of attending that, I'm going to say kudos a couple of times here to Juan. He has helped change the tone of that meeting, the things that the city is doing, the communicating everything that's happening, things that I think are probably even above and beyond sometimes, but because of the important nature of our storm water, it's critical to the city. So thank you to Juan for those meetings are fun to go to now, actually, and that is a big deal difference. Also, just to get back to Juan and our public works, we had a sewer backup that I was contacted on. And want to say thank you for the prompt, quick response to get that taken care of, at least as far as the direction of the flow. And I'll just probably leave it there. But thank you to our Public Works Department, again, for the prompt response and friendly approach in doing that. So thank you, and that's all I have.
The CTC, the communities that care, all of their upcoming programs are full, which is great. As far as the school district is concerned, the county commissioners passed the school board member boundary maps, and they also did a drawing at random to determine for this first batch which board seats would be a 3-year term and which would be a 5-year term. Even though it was random, the results ended up not being very random, where all of Orem City's 4 board seats are 5-year terms this first round, and the Lindon, PG, and Vineyard board seats are 3-year terms. And then once these terms expire, then it'll go on to their regular 4-year terms. They just need to make sure they stagger. So that got passed. We met together as an interlocal again today, just talking about business and steps moving forward between now and when the election of the board is. So now it's in that land of encouraging good people to run for board seats.
When is the application?
June. I don't know the day. Thanks. So anyone, that would be, now that they have the official map, they'll know which boundary they're living in. So it'd be great to have some good people run for that. The tree board, they'll have their meeting next week, and the Arbor Day celebration April 25th at 5:30 at the community center. Really great stuff, tree vouchers, drawings, hot dog dinner, all for free. And then the Historical Commission, they met, and they're putting together, they're doing some really good archival work, scanning in documents and building this big repository. And they've added a few items to the museum and are looking at some other projects that could include an update to Our Town book.
Thank you so much, Council. You all do so amazing with your liaison assignments and just really bring the best all together with your efforts, and so appreciate that. Many wonderful things happening in Lindon right now, thanks to so many good people. The Chamber Summit on Friday, I know it was held during, I think I was the only one from Lindon there. It was representing the three chambers, Point of the Mountain, Eagle Mountain, and the Pleasant Grove Lindon Chamber. It was an event held at the ballroom at UVU. Still had a fairly decent turnout, but you could see it was a little bit affected by the spring break week, and it was tremendous. There was a presentation given by the Zions Bank economist, and it was quite fascinating about the tariffs and some other things in the future. So I think we're going to try to ask him to come to the PG Lindon Chamber. Eric and I chatted about it today, so hopefully many who missed that could see it again. It was very worthwhile to see, but there were a lot of great companies and businesses there, and they handed out, they donated funding to 3 different charities here locally from the registration fees that were paid. So it was really quite wonderful. Speaking of charities, we've had, some of you were able to come, but we've had the Hearts Knit Together open in Lindon that does packages for children and refugees in need, and so they are here in Lindon doing a great job looking for help and volunteers. And then the Sharing Place is a grief counseling for free for children suffering from grief. They're almost landed in Lindon, but they're just barely in PG, but they were one of the entities that received funding. And then also the Ronald McDonald House, there with the primary children. So lots of wonderful resources and people doing fantastic things. Steve already mentioned our youth council deadline for those youth that want to have a wonderful experience serving in the community, giving, learning how city government works, and then providing a lot of wonderful service. Also wanted to mention our junior rodeo royalty. They are having a clinic on April 26th for the community as well. And our spring cleanup is coming out. I'll let our city administrator give the details on that. Steve and I had a really great experience going with the Mountain Land Association of Governments Meals on Wheels. We went and visited some homebound seniors with the Meals on Wheels, and they're doing a really great job trying to fundraise as well, since some of the federal funding is on kind of in question now. We also had a lot of you came to the Key Leader meeting, the CTC Key Leader meeting, so thank you for coming out and supporting that. As was mentioned, our Communities That Care is just thriving and doing amazing, and Jamie's been able to get several large grants, and I'm happy to sign off on those with the county, and lots of great programs and classes on parenting to anti-vaping to coping skills for teens. Really fantastic things happening. I'm so glad to hear that our community is really responding and people are wanting to have those education services. As Cole mentioned, our interlocal school group, we just want the main message to be in the community that, as the Timpanogos Reorganized District, things are moving forward in a positive way. We're trying to get our heads around, understanding the lay of the land of what's going to need to be tackled by our new school board that gets elected, and we're trying to pass the baton in a way that will give them hit the ground running, and that our schools and our teachers and our families are all valued, and we feel like we're going to be able to have a positive future with our reorganized district. There will be some challenges, and we need some key people who can really dive into that, but it'll work out in the end. And then also, today we had our Utah Lake Authority, myself, Friday, we went with UVU again, and so things are still progressing. We finally got the MOU red lines on our Nature Science Center out on our Lakeshore Conservation Park area, so we're moving that forward as well, and get that MOU worked out with them on that future Science Center. We're excited, hopefully can do an official announcement, press release, hopefully in the next month or so on that. Arbor Day was mentioned really quickly. We do have our community emergency response team. This is where citizens on the ground here in our community can be prepared for any emergency issues. We have our next class, October, is taking signups now, and those do fill up, so we'd love to have people do those. And we are going to participate in the great shakeout next on the 17th. There'll be the big state-run shakeout that we'll participate in, and shepherded by Kelly Johnson. So those are a couple things. So lots going on in April. It's a great month. And then just finally, right as I was coming in the door, you all might not have heard this, but as you know, March Madness, basketball brackets kind of take over some people. They announced, wait, what? So ESPN had over 22 million brackets submitted. Guess who the number one, if Houston wins tonight, gentleman here, Jeremy Pratt in Pleasant Grove, will be the number one out of all 22 million brackets that were submitted.
Wow.
Jeremy
How
Pratt,
much?
he's
Yeah,
poised to be the number one out of 22 million. So anyway,
One in 22 million.
local, fun local fact.
Jeremy should be taking all of us to lunch then. If this
No, actually, he doesn't win a big pot of money. He should, but apparently not.
The big pot is if you get everything right, which will never happen.
Yeah.
Well,
All
what
right.
about a little pot? Is there a little? Okay.
Anyway, I'll turn the time over to Mr. Cowie, Administrator.
As the
Report.
mayor mentioned, just the spring cleanup with the dumpsters around town for residential waste, that will run through the 15th.
Can I ask you a question on that, Adam?
Yeah.
I did not realize how popular that was. I don't know if they went out on Thursday, but the 4th was when the public notice was. They were full on the 4th.
Yeah.
I was.
Yeah,
They
were-
pick up
I think
regularly.
multiple times on the 4th they were full, I think.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
how
they-
often, because people are asking, it's full, Lincoln, when does it go away? How does that happen over the next couple of weeks that this is available?
So they dump a couple times per day, is my understanding.
Really?
And this is very typical that the first several days it's packed. And so we encourage people to keep checking back later in the week. But the first few days is always full immediately. And
But
so
probably not Saturday and Sunday, but just weekdays, Monday through Friday. they're
weekdays,
emptying?
yep. And so they'll rotate through and pick those up. But
They get picked up Saturday as well.
Saturdays are busy.
And then we go with the backhoe and smash them down so we can put them on.
Wow. Okay, thanks.
yeah, we would strongly encourage, please do not leave the stuff there if it's full. We
On the
we run
side
into
of the
that
dumpster
problem.
on the ground, yeah.
So if it's full, just check another location or come back another day. So, the only other thing I had, I think everything's listed there. I think you've all mentioned most of those things. Maybe this is a question for Cole. I am not clear on if somebody wants to run for the school board, where they file. Is that Utah County? I'm assuming that's the county that's running that. So the county hasn't put anything on their website yet. So
I could
just
ask.
maybe something that we should follow up on and
That's great.
publicized
Yeah,
there.
I'll follow up on it for sure.
Yeah, it is not through the cities that we're aware of, and so
Right.
I'm assuming it's Utah County.
But I'll get
So,
more of those information.
Right now, their website just says seats up for election coming soon, so, but that filing date's coming up fast, so. That's all I have, Mayor, thanks.
Thank you so much. All right, we will now move on to item number 6. This is the approval of the minutes from our city council meeting that was held March 17th, 2025. Council, if you have any changes or adjustments. If not, we'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
There was a point where you called us Stockton and Malone. Can you just tell us which one was Malone?
Well, who's the taller one?
I don't think my name has been 29 times. I'm just going to set that as
You're
a new
counting,
threshold
okay. All
of
right.
me checking up in the future. Yeah.
I think it's only appropriate that I make a motion to approve the city council minutes of March 17th, 2025 as presented.
All right.
And no, that would be Stockton. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's what you're saying. 'Cause, yeah, the assist, right. I second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second for the minutes. Any further discussion? All right, we'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, the minutes are approved. Thank you so much. All right, we will now move on to item number 7. This is our consent agenda, and we have a couple items here. These are items that typically do not require public comment. They're just a matter of housekeeping, but they do require approval by the council. So we'll first have our proclamation.
Yeah, the Arbor Day proclamation, this is a requirement for our Tree City USA certification that we have, and then part of that celebration there. And then the other item is this real estate purchase agreement. This is something that the city council had previously authorized the construction to move forward on the section of roadway just east of the landfill. So this is 2000 West. And so as part of that, the city had been working with the district to acquire a strip of land along their fence line on the shoulder of the roadway, and that enables us to widen that road. And then as a trade of that, work that's being done in that hatched area, there's a memo that describes some of the contributions the city made to some stormwater and fencing improvements to their site. So there was no exchange of money. This was goods and services. And so if you have any questions, Juan's here too that could help answer that.
Did you guys get any follow-up from North Point Solid Waste after we had that meeting?
They had one request from their legal counsel just on this item right here, the storm drain and pipe improvements that were installed. He just asked for a dollar value to be added to the memo. So we'll add that and then we're ready to go.
Cool. Again, thank you for jumping on that so quick.
Fantastic project, and it's a win-win, so really great. And I'm thrilled to sign the Arbor Day proclamation. I know that was one of our centennial initiatives, and we definitely love to be a Tree City USA and have our urban forest be a priority here in the community. Council, any thoughts or comments before I would entertain a single motion for both of those items?
Ready to go, both good things. I move to approve the consent agenda items as presented.
Second.
All right,
And
we
with
have
the adjustment to add the dollar amount.
we have a motion by Councilmember Broderick, seconded by Councilmember Stewart. Any further discussion? All right, we'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that sounds unanimous. Thank you very much. Okay, moving forward, we're on item number 8, and this is a review and action for our Hollow Park. This was mentioned earlier that it's due a resurfacing, and we'll invite our Parks and Recreation Director, Heath Bateman, to come present the information regarding the bid award and who that's going out to.
Thank you, Mayor. We've, for those avid pickleball players, you know that court has wore down right down to the concrete on some areas. So it's in some respects dangerous. But we have got 3 good bids from 3 good companies, and they were all really close in their areas. So we would recommend, and Just so you know, another reason why I wanted to bring this to council, it's within Adam's authority to approve something at this lower cost level, but I wanted to just show you when you need to maintain that what you build. And so it's been 7 or 8 years. How long have those courts been there?
It's longer than that.
Yeah, let's see, I've already been here 13, so yeah, maybe 10 years. We got the surface out of those pretty good, but it's expensive to maintain those items. So Floor Me Floors is the one we're recommending for $40,000 to take them down to a paintable surface, not all the way, but to get the dirt and the grime off of them, and then repaint them, and then also with the council's blessing to put some ghost lines on the tennis court for additional pickleball play. We've considered that before. It's been a question on whether or not 8 people, if there's 2 courts going, playing doubles, would be willing to yield the court to a tennis player, 2 tennis players. But I think Lincoln and I have talked a little bit about it, and tennis or pickleball folks are pretty respectful, and I think
Could
that's
we
a
post signage to that effect? That
we
there's
do
a
have
rule?
a sign in production. Well, it's going to go to production depending on your feelings. That will say just that. It will not just be immediately yield, but it will say, after the game, go with paddles up the same way. And so they would wait for that to go, the pickleball people to play, and then the portable nets would be removed, and the tennis people could go. And when they're done with their sets, then the pickleball people could come back on. It's just a rotation system.
So help us understand ghost lines a little bit. What is a
Ghost lines are the fainter, non-hard contrasting dash lines and smaller lines that will outline the tennis court, so 2 courts will fit on either side of the current tennis net. So you won't have to tape or put anything down. The ghost lines are just there, so there will be new lines on the tennis court, but it will be the outline of a pickleball court.
And how many ghosted pickleball
2.
courts?
There'll be 2 on the tennis court.
So 8 can fit, because that's the exact same footprint here as there are. No, 4. We have 4, right? Hollow Park?
4.
4. And you're doing how many here?
2, because we don't want to disturb the net.
Okay.
3 fit in the church gyms too, and they're painting 2. There's just because they want to make it accessible, but not.
You put 2 on
Yeah.
each side.
And would players
Yeah.
have to bring their own net?
Yeah,
We won't
they'll bring
provide a
their
net.
own net.
Yeah.
Sign. Are you going to put the 2 names of the 2 tennis players in the city on the sign?
Yeah.
Might as
Well, they're
I mean,
probably
I don't
down
know
at the
that
junior
they're
high.
warranted.
I
Low
don't know.
blow.
Just
That is a
kidding.
low blow.
I don't know. It'll be a complete resurface, and one of the things that helped our contractor, not only his low price, get his prices, he wants to try out a new chemical on 2 of those courts to see if he can get any more longevity out of those 2, particularly over time. So on his time, so it'll be a good
So
opportunity.
here's another question. Do they need to take away the fencing to do this project, or the fencing stays in place?
Everything stays in place.
Okay. So I know the tennis court has a higher fence on the south side than
Correct.
the pickleball, and I know,
10 foot.
yeah, and the pickleball is only a 5.
6.
Yeah,
I think it's right at 6. Yeah.
that is one thing that I think would be, I know for some residents there, they would love to see that southern to go to maybe a higher height there at some point for the acoustic block to hang.
If the council wants me to look into that, I certainly can. Get some prices and understand.
Would
what it would take.
that make sense to do that in conjunction while this
I think it's
resurfacing is done?
irrelevant.
It doesn't affect
No.
it one way or the other as far as.
No, in
ease.
fact, on the east side, the south side particularly, where in 100 years when those scrub trees are nice and block some view, I had just outside of that sidewalk corridor on the south side, I had, it's been 5 years ago, 12-foot fence, auxiliary fence just bid right there on that south side. It was pretty expensive at 10 to 12 feet, but I can get some numbers together and I can bring it back to the council if you're so
Or even if
inclined.
it's just the same as the tennis court.
Yeah, I don't know
line,
how that would affect the concrete with the concrete cables.
Yeah.
Van is a contract you probably know. if we're cutting those out and re-drilling holes, if it would affect cracking or breaking of that concrete surface or not, I don't know. But let's see, I don't even know if, we didn't talk with them about extending the current poles, but I got the impression from Northwest Fence that it would have to be removed and put new, bigger poles in.
Versus just an extension. Yeah. Okay, just something to keep in mind.
I'm curious, council, for your thoughts. In tennis court, double pickleball courts that I've been to, they put 4 courts on the 2 tennis courts. Is there a reason we wouldn't want that ghosted here? And there's a lot of issues, right? I recognize the pickleball noise is something that we struggle with in this area, and so.
Although that area has a 10-foot fence. It's higher.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure. But if we're going to ghost, I don't know that 2 courts ghosted lines is going to be any more confusing to a tennis player than 4 court ghosted lines, and it's very, very common. Hawaii, Seattle, Florida, multiple places that I played, they do this. You bring your portable net, but you'll get 4 more on that other side, and that net, the tennis net that's there, divides, the front 2 courts from the back 2 courts, and it's great to stop the ball.
I think we might be talking about the same thing. When I say 2 courts, I mean per side.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Never mind.
2 courts per side.
Ignore everything I said.
2 courts per side without messing with the net. Yeah, that's the plan.
Except I will say, thank you for getting this resurfaced. Vans played there a lot. It really was worn down so much that it was approaching a dangerous area. And
I cover a lot of ground. I wear it out.
Yeah. He's joking and smiling right now. When we had conversations before, he wasn't smiling so much. Just something that we want to stay as we go forward. Council, I hope you're open. This is a little bit expensive, but it's a lot cheaper than a lawsuit. And as we go forward, we're going to want to watch the courts and make sure that we keep our courts resurfaced. And if we look at expanding, we need to recognize this is the cost after 10 years that we've got to resurface.
I have a sneaking suspicion, although I never saw it. It was reported to me that the first year or 2, they were being shoveled, the snow in the winter, and that's not very bueno for that paint.
Probably
so
not.
I don't know that for sure, but it was reported to me that there were people shoveling those off to play in the winter. And first year I had them locked. That's why they had locking gates, so we could keep them nice during the summer. But when it was like today, 50 degrees, 60 degrees, we didn't go and lock them every day. So.
And you guys have done a great job. I know I've mentioned when I've seen a net down here or there, and thank you so much for your quick response there.
So just for clarification, Mayor, you were asking for new Acoustablock to go in?
Well, if you look at the
or-
tennis court, the fence is 10 feet tall, and then on the pickleball, it's only 6 feet tall. And so some of the residents that are on this south border feel like the pickleball noise is a nuisance. And so just asking about what the cost would be to raise the fencing 10 feet across that whole.
Just this
Just
section?
that, yes,
Okay.
just that.
Just
And
wanted
that's
to get
where,
clarity on that, so.
that's where Heath would have to find out how feasible it is, if it's a big lift financially or not, I don't know, but.
More than that, it would be, if it would, I certainly would help a little, but if it would, that's $25,000 in acoustic block on those 3 sides.
Currently, yeah.
And that doesn't speak anything for the folks to the north, if we don't do on the north side. And it really doesn't work great unless you box it in. So the overflow to the playground side is another issue for the sound spillage, but.
Do you think that sound then traverses south?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And I know, well, okay.
Yeah, but I originally had that netting up there, the wind block, and a lot of folks asked me to take it down. And since that time, we took it down in between courts too for a little bit of air movement. But the parents want to be able to see their kids on the playground. It makes sense. So we can't box that in like some individuals would like to do unless we put a roof over it. Building.
Well, hey, I like this idea, roof over. Just kidding.
We have,
For the record, just kidding.
We have had I'll say another round of comments that have come through, and maybe you have received some of those from the concerned neighbor to the south. And if Brian's willing to take a minute, if he could just give us an update on the legal aspects of maintaining the pickleball courts. So.
Yeah, we have gotten a lot of concern from one neighbor in particular. We'll note that several surrounding neighbors indicate that they don't have issues with it. But there are lawsuits throughout the country over the nuisance that this type of use brings with it. And so it's not something that's isolated to us. Been watching those lawsuits. Last week I spent some time going back through them to see what the status. There's no real legal precedence over it, but if the noise is such that a reasonable person would be able to convince a jury that their life has been affected, the city could get. I don't think would ever get to the point that we are looking at damages, but we might get an injunctive order saying, hey, you got to shut your pickle courts down if the noise gets to that point. This circumstance, I'm not seeing the facts, but anything that we can do to help mitigate that sound, because the complaints are consistent, they're loud, and they're direct, and I'm not saying they're not genuine. I'm not saying that at all, but there's just that balance that goes on. So anything that we can do as a council to try and help mitigate that and show that we're taking an effort to make as little impact on them as possible, while balancing the demand of the public, because there's clearly a high demand for this, not just in Lindon, but in all of the communities, surrounding communities, and pickleball is going to be here. And so it's that balancing act that goes into these nuisance types of cases. Getting those walls up, that may not be a bad thing for us to consider. And so I think it's a good thing for Heath to look into how much that would cost. Also, we have communicated that we would go back and take some readings because we went through this round of issues before we put that acoustic block in at all.
Correct.
And we got some readings, and so talking with Heath, once those pickleball courts get going again, we're going to go take some more readings to see what difference that block has made. But definitely
and
something
I think,
we're going to have to address.
Yeah, the fact that the fence is only 6 feet tall in that one spot,
Right.
it doesn't help as much as it could if it was matching the
And the
tennis side.
geography of that hollow
Yeah.
is I think Heath
There
told
is
that-
something about it. Yeah.
that neighbors in one spot of it who don't have any problems with the sound may not be getting the same sound as the person who's getting that noise. But again, we can only do so much, but we need to look at it and see what we can do.
There you go. So I'll go forward a little bit on that.
So we've planted those trees there along the south.
Right.
How big are those getting? And what sound engineers, what studies, if you will, do you know of that see what landscaping may do to be able to help mitigate noise?
We have never employed any kind of sound engineer on this project at all. I've been to about 15 spots around that. I've been on certain neighbors' porches with a sound meter listening during play. I think it was ironic that some of the louder spikes were people in the pavilion playing around. It's not repetitive like the pickleball, but those are probably literally 20 years before they'll do anything significant till they grow together. They're at 6 feet now. They're fat boy Austrian pines. Still supposed to get to 20, 25 feet, but we want the branches to get close together. So we've just done everything on our own to try to figure out.
Yeah, I didn't mean for us to have done the sound engineering, but I'm wondering if somebody has throughout the country and
just some data.
What's best practices that maybe other parts of the country have determined?
Well, I think anecdotally, I mean, I've gone around and because I interact with this resident quite a lot, And, I can find examples where there's a house that's literally 10 feet from a pickleball court, but they've done a big acoustablock that's 10 or 12 feet high, and the next door neighbor's fine. And you live near all the pickleball courts, and they've done acoustablock and the cypresses. And when I talked with you, you said you're not getting.
Hear it at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I
you're
live
just
closer
across
to
the
those
street.
Than way closer than she does there, but it's odd. I can't hear it at all, and it's just the geography. And so I'm a big fan of the acoustablock. I think it works really well, but for me it does. I don't know about other people. So.
More, right, this area is now right there to the right of the large home. That's all past approval with the Planning Commission for new homes.
Right.
And there, on the west side as well, is phase 2 and phase 3. That's going to change a lot of the dynamics of that hollow. I would think, as you put more homes in there as well.
Yeah,
Still,
and I've spoken with some of the residents there to the west, and they're fine. And I think it's partly because the tennis court has 10 foot, and I'm not an engineer, but my guess is the tennis court 10 feet high is a good buffer
and
for them.
My personal experience too, all of the PG are at least 10, maybe 12 feet high. And so I think there's some real value in looking at that.
The 10 or 12 foot on that.
And I think we can find some of those studies, Van. I have seen studies referred to in the lawsuits that I was looking at, but again, those studies are all over the place. This is way early in this legal field, and you're able to find experts to say whatever you want them to say. It's kind of interesting. It's still going through and kind of it's the sausage being made, so.
And maybe look at an additional fence where we leave everything exactly as it is, and it's a new fence a little further back.
We've talked about, that's the one I was mentioning, fumbling through and saying, I did have Northwest Fence budget one before I put the trees in as just a sound block to the south. Chad Hendricks? Chad and Angie? What is his last name? They live to the north, and they've got that pasture, only that little pasture between them. They say, of course we hear it. We hear everything that's going on. It sounds like parks noise. So it's different strokes for different folks, and they're only 300 feet away. But we'll look into the fence and get a couple of ideas, and I'll bring it back.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
All right, this is an action item.
Do we need to
make a
talk
bit of work.
about the ghost, no, you've got the ghost lines in there, never mind.
Yeah.
That was the change of the color.
Yeah.
Motion, I move to approve awarding the bid to Floor Me Concrete Surfacing in the amount of $40,000 for the resurfacing of the Hollow Park pickleball and tennis courts as presented.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Councilmember Jacobs, seconded by Councilmember Broderick. Any further discussion on the motion?
I just had something. So there's it's like two things together. The maintaining it, I think, makes a lot of sense because it is something that a lot of people use. But I'm not behind doing the ghost lines, doubling the size of the impact without some other mitigation. But I know they're both in the same
The ghost
motion.
lines would be in the place where the
Fencing is
mitigation is
highest.
the best.
I know, but we're doubling the total experience, and so that's where I'm just hesitant without. I don't know if that fence is the only thing that's going to change. So but that's my only. I wish they were separate items for
All
me
right.
personally. But.
Appreciate that. Okay. Any other further discussion on the motion on the table? All right, we'll go ahead and call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
All right, the motion carries. Thank you so much, Heath. All right, we're now moving on to item number 9. This is a review and action as well with our Utah County 2025 elections agreement. So we're going to review approval for a resolution to enter in with the county for some cost towards our upcoming 2025 elections. There's a new fast cast voting system there.
We'll talk about that separately from the agreement and just wanted to get your thoughts on that. But as far as what's in front of you tonight for action item is this resolution that would approve the agreement between the city and Utah County. And we've contracted with the county since mail-in Vote by mail ballots have gone out for a number of years, and the county administers and processes all of that. And so what may be unique, we've been fortunate the last couple of elections, we haven't had to have a primary, and so the cost on this, let me scroll down to that page, is reflective of holding both a primary and a general election with the likelihood that we'll have multiple school board seats open, even though that's not our election, that's, I believe, through the county. But we would have to likely have a primary election for that, and so that's the anticipation. This is typical. We've done this every year for the last several years, and so, or every election. If there's any questions,
Should have reached out earlier. I'm sorry. Do we have a cost comparison? We've done it in the past. Is this?
This has gone up a little bit in the past for each, the primary and the general. We've been in the 18 to 19,000 range, and so it's gone up a little bit. And they mentioned there that in that third sentence there down below, it's $275 per active voter is their anticipated costs on that. So.
And is this going to be to match that other email you sent with the early voting opportunities? With the
So this
municipalities?
agreement has nothing to do with
So
that.
that part would be the extra, okay.
Just to run our contribution share for the running of the election within our jurisdiction.
So maybe I'll jump to that next topic then. Any questions on this current agreement? If not, so the fast cast voting, that was something that kind of caught us by surprise. Something the county clerk sent out and said, hey, this is an option for you to consider. It would help them by not having potentially as many spoiled ballots or signature conflicts. As city recorders had looked into that, there was a lot of buzz going along with some emails, and there are multiple additional requirements that we would have to meet if we offered that fast cast voting. We would have to have at least 3 full-time during the election process, 3 election workers on site at all times. Those are paid workers typically. And so we have to have specific accessibility options available for those to come in and vote. That we don't know what that would entail. We would have to have space in the building for them to do that and set that up. The more we looked into it and the more that we'd seen a lot of other cities expressing concerns, we would not recommend that we do that. And so this is something that may help Utah County Elections Office. We understand that, but the way it was expressed to us was, hey, this is a really cool thing, an option that would help us out. What do you think? And then as more details came forward, there's a true cost to this that is above and beyond this agreement that we would have to factor in and figure out what that is. And so,
explain to me, what is fast cast voting? Essentially, they come here and can have a voting booth?
So they basically, they come here and show a form of ID, and
But they still get mailed the ballot, right?
Right.
It's left here. It's like a drop box, and so it's not mailed. It's actually
It's not mailed in the return. There's proof of identity and authentication at the return, but everyone still gets their ballot via the mail.
Yes, everything is mailed out, and so you would be somebody bringing in their ballot and saying, look, here's who I am. I'm Adam Cowie, and I'm signing this. Here's my ID. And we have somebody here that then validates that. And that's then put into a box, a drop box here at this site that the county actually comes and picks up. And so just like our drop box down below, but
So
what they're saying is
verification on the back end now because
yes,
they're not doing the signature verification.
Part of what happened in the last election, there were well over 20,000 ballots that never got counted because the signature, my son was one of them. They said, this is not your signature. And he said, yes, it is. And they said, well, to cure your signature XYZ, it's going to take this much time. The election was over. So there were over 20,000 ballots that had uncured signatures.
This is something that is going to become more and more of an issue in my mind, as throughout the country there's more accusations of voter fraud and those types of things. I think this is something we're going to want to look at, and as a service to our citizens. Now, I've read that email a couple of times, and there's probably some things to be worked out, but I think this is probably going to be coming more and more, and something for us, in my opinion, to look at seriously.
For sure. So I was for it until hearing that the more that you got into it, there are problems. So feasibly, it's not feasible.
It could be feasible, but there is a cost that we would be bearing in addition to what we're paying the county to administer our entire election. And they're not giving us what that cost is. And so the only thing we've received is that first email that I sent to you guys. So then this is subsequent discussions between city recorders who typically administer elections. And there was things that were required in state code that encompass this process. So this is a polling location must include all requirements such as ADA compliance, at least 3 poll workers. We have to be able to print ballots, election forms, have to be able to have booths and ballot boxes here. This is a full setup, just like we're running an election here. And that's not something that we're accustomed to doing, that we're equipped to do. We don't have any manpower. And so this would be us hiring election workers to staff this, and then setting that up somewhere here in this building or at the community center.
You didn't send us this email, though, did you?
No, I haven't. So
all through early voting, essentially 2+.
the thing that this does is, what we're being told is this prevents their signature from being spoiled. That's the only thing it does.
They don't even have to check the signatures, so they can reduce their manpower of checking the signature.
They could say, yeah, these 10,000 ballots came in through this FastCast method. They've already been checked, so we don't have to verify their signature.
There still must be a way.
It saves the county time and money.
There still must be a way that military and others can still vote via mail.
Yeah, absolutely.
But our general population would not be allowed to do that unless they jump through whatever hoops those are required for somebody to vote by mail.
And again, more and more people are wanting to know that their vote made it.
Yeah.
They put it in the ballot, they mail it, and you see a number that this many were spoiled. Was mine one of them?
So with mine, I just said, let me know, and I got notified, we got it.
Yes, there's things that they can do, but people are wanting more and more
And our
assurance.
legislature there's going to be more bills coming with voter verification beyond just the signature. That's coming down the pipe.
In the past, and it's been now a number of years before the mail-in voting, there were people that were, if you will, deputized or whatever for the day, and they would do just that. They would be in various schools, parties would help provide, or at least ask for people to respond. Again, there's more information that's coming. My whole point, I guess, is this is something I think we're going to want to look at closely. I think we have a fair amount of citizens are interested in this process, to be sure.
So rather than going back to the olden days with voting booths, where all of that was taken care of, we want to continue mailing them out, but then authenticating them when they turn them in at whatever day they want.
Any of these things can change, and
Sure.
things are changing right
Absolutely.
now. To Adam's
My
point
question is, since they're saying that we would need to also provide the ability to print ballots, that tells me that we would be also facilitating provisional ballots, not just mailed ballots.
There's a great deal involved in
Yes,
this.
that's a nasty provision.
And
that
so,
they're putting in there.
yeah, that's why I'm saying this is stuff that came subsequent to when I sent you that first message, and most of the cities that I'm aware of are saying, no, we don't want to participate in this. So,
Found any that are, yeah, we're in? You said most are.
I'm not aware of, there could be, I'm not aware of any.
Just curious.
So has the county responded? Because it's like
Not that I've seen.
okay.
And the information that they sent was woefully inadequate,
Yeah.
given the research that everybody else has pulled up. And so I was disappointed in that, frankly.
Again, when they put in that printing component, that feels like we're being nice, but there's no way you can do this.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
But I think it's something to pursue, and I think it's going to be pursued whether we do.
Sounds like the county needs to review this and remove some of these barriers to cities if they want us to participate.
Can you forward us that?
Yeah, I
please?
can.
Yeah, if anybody else.
Yeah, keep providing us good information and let's keep
they're
an eye
able
on
to
that.
lend more support to all these caveats beyond, because they're saying here you must include all types of voting, not just the fast cast voting, where someone brings their ballot and just wants to show ID, and our recorder says, "Yep, that's you. This is this ballot's vetted," but it's all these other
there's a lot more to it. So
things that they're saying that we would have to be providing that we may not have the resources for.
And if the county provided it, then you would see those dollar amounts go up in these agreements. So they won't do this for free. This would be a pass-through cost that the
Although I
cities.
agree with Van that I think a lot of citizens would like to feel like their vote is as secure as possible in the chain of movement and that it's in, and anyway.
Yeah.
I too would appreciate a copy of that email, and anything else that you hear as you have dialogue back and forth, because this absolutely is a hot item
Yeah, we can pass that
in the
along.
political arena.
All right, so to clarify the motion then on the action, was the county asking us to make a legislative action?
I'm
or just-
asking just for your feedback. So
Okay,
the
this
only
is just
action
feedback.
is the election.
So all we need is a motion then for our participation amount to the county to conduct the 2025 election for this action item.
Yeah, the last 10 minutes of discussion has nothing to do with what we're voting on.
Okay. All right, I'm ready to entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion. I move to approve Resolution 2025-8-R, entering into the agreement for the 2025 Utah County elections in the amount of $40,760.50 as presented.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Councilmember Jacobs, seconded by Councilmember Stewart. With the motion on the table, do we have any further discussion? All right, seeing none, we'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we are complete then with item number 9, and that brings us to item number 10, which is our closed session. So as per Utah Code 52-4-205, our city council will now go into a closed session and to discuss the potential purchase or sale of real property and or pending or possible litigation. So thank you everyone who has attended.
Yeah, I'd say.
And it's good to see you, Madeline. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Do we need to make that
On that motion?
Yes, so we'll go ahead and have a motion, and then we'll have a roll call,
I
please.
move to enter a closed session.
But do the reason.
I already stated the motion.
That's what I was wondering. Does it
Thank
now
you.
have to be made in a motion?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I move to enter into a closed session to discuss the character, professional competence, or physical or mental health of an individual per Utah Code.
And the potential purchase and
Oh, there
sale
it is.
of real property.
Or potential purchase or sale of real property, pending or possible litigation per Utah Code 52-4-205.
All right, roll call.
Steve Stewart, aye.
Lincoln Jacobs, aye.
Jake Hoyt. Aye.
Berg, aye.
Van Broderick, aye.
Cole Hooley, aye.
Who was the second?
Second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, so. All right, we're all